Hey guys, this is Sergeant Masters coming back with another video. If you remember the video before this, it was kind of like a little introduction to reloading. I like to reload my own cases and reuse the old brass, and I thought I'd go ahead and kind of make another part of the video, or actually the next step in what you do if you were reloading. In this short segment, we're going to do what reloaders call prepping our cases. Let's see how they get in there. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to take a, let's look at the head stamp. This is a Remington 223 Remington case. As you can see right there, it's been fired. Now what we got to do is what's called prepping the case. And what I mean by that, we got to, with bottleneck cartridges such as this one, you've got to lube the cases before you put them in your press and knock out the primer. As you can see right there, that's just first couple steps. But like I said, we gotta lube the cases up. The lube I bought off midway.com, it's a pretty good site, and they have a lot of reloading equipment and accessories. They do a wonderful job as far as you know, shipping too. And what we're going to do now is, like I said, lube the cases. I got some of this Frankfurt Arsenal lube. This is pretty cool. Saves you a lot of time. The other stuff I had, the Lee lube, it looks like kind of like a paste. It came in a tube. I don't have any in here with me right now, but what you do is you lube your cartridges all up. You can see a little picture of the guy spraying them down. Lube your rifle cartridges up and let it dry, and that way when you go to decap them, as you can see my decapping dye knocks out the primer. But like I said, you have to lube the cases, or else this case will get stuck in your dyes, your decapping dye, and then you've got a whole new set of problems to deal with as far as getting that cartridge out and without trying to damage any of your equipment. I showed you the you can see it back here, my little hand press. That's what I used to use. I graduated again to a lime and orange crusher. This is brand new. I did have an RCBS when I bought used a while back. I ended up giving it to a buddy next door, thinking, you know, I might not be able to use it again because I didn't have a place to mount it. But I went ahead and took this old desk, my girlfriend's, and drilled a hole in it and secured my press there. So what we'll do now is I'm going to go ahead and get a bunch of cases together. And what I like to do is I read a little tip on the internet and some blogs, which are a good place to get tips from people, all kinds of reloading advice, is to put all my cases in like a little big Ziploc baggie, you see right here. Spray some of the lube inside of them and kind of just shake and bake them and get all that lube on the cases and the case necks and stuff like that. And then I'm going to lay it out on this wax paper right here. And you have to let it dry according to the directions on the Frankfurt Arsenal lube. And then after it's dry, it's kind of like a talc, kind of powdery finish to it when it dries, and that's when you go ahead and put your lube case in your ram here, and that's called a ram that goes up and down. And in the ram I have a case shell holder. Every shell holder for every caliber is different. I think this one is for 223, 5.56, and maybe one or two other calibers, but the case holder right here will only hold maybe one or two specific types of calibers. So I have a caliber that, or a case holder that holds for example, my 357 38s, and then for 40 Smith & Wesson I have a different shell holder, and then for 223 5.56 I had to buy this shell holder. And actually it came with the Lee pace setter dies, or the I think it's pace setter. It came with the Lee reloading dies. Lee makes pretty good dies, and even though this is a Lyman press, I do have Lee dies in there, which works out pretty good. Shell holder's sometimes a little iffy. I had problems with my decapping some of my 40 cals the other day. Well, those girls are loud. I had a little problems, not decapping, but trying to use my ram prime here. It was no big deal. I just had to make sure the cases were in there pretty good. Boy, they're loud. But anyways, let me go ahead and do this, and then I'll start the camera back up and I'll show you the next step. Okay, now that the screaming has stopped, guys, I have my case is drying out now. Like I said, I used the Ziploc bag. He gave it a couple, it's about several squirts of the Frankfurt Arsenal lube on the inside. Kind of just rolled them around. Be careful. Sometimes the Ziploc will come unlocked, but if you just hold one in your hand and kind of shake and bake it around and jostle them around, and it does a pretty good job getting all the shells lubed. And when they're on the wax paper right here, I just gave it a quick couple squirts, rolled them around with my hands like that, just to get all the make sure you get all the lube on there. Now what you got to do now, according to the directions, is wait and let it dry, and then you go ahead and move to your decapping and priming. And incidentally, the Lee dies I like because it's not a universal decapper. Although it decaps, it's a full-length case sizer. It resizes the neck and the body of your case, so you don't have to go through an extra step. It decaps and resizes your cases. So we'll go ahead and let these dry, and then when I get ready to do a few cases, I'll come back to you and show you how that's done. Alright guys, here we go. This is going to be the last little bit of this segment. I've kind of got everything a little bit set up. I got my case here that's had a little bit of time to dry. You got your Ram Prime right here, and I put a small rifle primer in it. That's what 223's 5.56 take, is a small rifle primer, and I'll show you how it's done. You can see it's got the old primer in the bottom. So put it in the shell holder. We lift the lever, and you can almost hear it, a little tink come out, and that's the primer coming out. Let's do it. Can you hear that? Maybe you didn't. Okay, bring it back down. The case is resized because now it goes in a little bit smoother. When it goes in at first, it may be a little tough, but don't worry. Spent primer goes into the primer tray right here. As you can see in the bottom, no primer in there. So what we got to do, and I'm just redoing some of these steps to show you guys. I'm going to lift the arm back a little bit. I'm going to push my Ram just enough to get that Ram Prime underneath of it without knocking off my damn primer tray. Sorry guys, I'm doing this one-handed. Okay, let's try to do this. And this is what it's going to look like. See, I got the Ram Prime in here. I lifted the Ram up just a little bit, not all the way back into the die. And now I'm going to push down, and you'll be doing this without a camera in your hand, hopefully. I'm going to push down on my case, and it sounds like it feels like it's seated, so let's check just to be sure. Yep, no primer in the cup, so let's bring this down. And guys, it's not that hard. I'm trying to hold a camera and do this at the same time, and most time these primer goes in fairly easy. Let's see, it didn't go in that good, so let's put this back up. And sometimes you're going to run into problems like I'm running into now, of course. But okay, there we go. This must have been, and I'll tell you what the problem with that is. This, without looking at it, is probably a Lake City 5.56 casing, and I'll go into that in 1 second. You can still use these for your 223 reloads or 5.56, depending what you're putting in there. And see, it's not sticking out. It's in there pretty good. I know a camera may be distorted a little bit. There we go. So there's your new primer. And what I might do just for shits and giggles, what I would do anyway, is I'm just going to clean off all the residue right now. There is a little bit of, it's like an oily, sticky type of oily residue. I would go ahead and prime everything, put them in my tray over here, and then clean them off, or you can put them in a tumbler if you want to. I'm not going to right now, guys. And one step I didn't go through that you should go through that I didn't is to deprime them and then check the case length. These are pretty new cartridges. I think I've reused these once, and I've used the minimum load, so the case stretching out, it shouldn't be that big of an issue. If it is and I screwed up, oh well, you know what not to do. But I shouldn't have a problem with these guys because I've only used them I think once, and I've used the minimum starting loads. I didn't go really any above that. So that's pretty much how you do it, guys. And like I said, this was a Lake City casing. The 223 casing and the 5.56 casing shoot the same bullet. You know, a 223, 5.56, whatever you want to call it. But the Lake City brass, especially the military spec NATO brass, the casings are slightly different. Even though they'll work in the same rifle, they're a little different. The Lake City, I believe the NATO brass is just a little bit thicker than your standard Winchester Remington 223 bullets that you'd put in your AR-15. And one thing the military likes to do, especially with NATO cartridges, is they like to crimp in the primers. So if that happens, guys, you can deprime, just like you would any other cartridge. It may take just a little bit extra force because that primer is crimped in there, and a lot of the times if you want to put a new primer in there, you're going to have to get what's called a this is called a Lyman primer pocket reamer, because the military crimps in their primers on their 5.56 brass. It keeps the primer from backing out. I guess when you're, due to recoil, sometimes primers are been known to back out of the primer pocket. So to remedy that, NATO cartridges, most of them, I'd say if not all of them, are crimped in the primer pocket, and you have to remove that crimp. When you knock out the old primer, after resizing it and all that stuff, before you lube it and put a new primer in, you're going to need to take that crimp out of that primer pocket, and you do it with this. It has like a little notch or blade on the end. It just makes the primer pocket hole just a little bit wider, so you can go ahead and seat a new primer with ease, because if you don't, sometimes a primer gets smashed in there like a pancake, or it goes in sideways and it's just not usable. It gets crushed, mangled. It's a mess. You can't use it, so you've wasted a primer. But at any rate, guys, if you just stick to just regular used 223 brass, you shouldn't have to worry about that. I probably covered most everything that's important, but like I said, by all means, my advice here and these little segments I'm showing you does not replace any professional reloading instruction. Get a book and read it. Look on not eBay, but look on YouTube here. Check out some videos on reloading, and still get somebody to show you in person how to do this reloading, because there's a lot of little intricate things here and there, and probably a few things that I missed that you really need to go over, or else you're just gonna spin your wheels and mess up cases, mess up primers, screw up your cases, not get the right load in, stuff like that. So this is just to get you a little idea of what's involved. And if, like I said, as always, if you have any questions, just shoot me an email through YouTube or something, and I'll answer them. See you later.